Hi everyone, I'm Renuka and welcome back to my channel. This is a safe place where we talk about mental health, well-being and leveling up, especially if you're a woman. Today's topic is all about people pleasing and we are going to look at the signs which indicates that you might have people pleasing tendency. People pleasing can discreetly sneak into our personality and it almost get disguised because we think of people pleasing as kindness and helpful nature. So a lot of time, as I have experienced, you might have also experienced that we try to put others' needs ahead of us and we do it thinking that we are being a kind human being or we are being helpful. So let's look at the signs that indicates that you have people pleasing tendencies. Number one, difficulty in saying no. And this is very basic, very common. If you find it difficult to say no to people or commitments that your heart is resisting and your body is resisting those commitments and you're feeling really, really bad that you are supposed to do it, then very high chances that you have people pleasing tendency. Let me give you an example here. So let's say your boss asks you to do some extra work after your work hours are finished. How likely are you to say yes to them when your heart wants to say no, or you have some commitments back at home and you must be available there, but you have just immediately said yes to your boss? Okay, and you might think of yourself as being a responsible person, committed person, but you have to check in yourself. It's all about self-awareness. You have to check in the real reason why you have said yes when you want to say no. Sometimes the workplace examples can be difficult because we might think of them as official and hard to escape. Let's say, for an example, if your friend circle ask you to be present in a place where, one, you don't want to be in that company, second, you probably are very tired and you have an early morning tomorrow, and you know that if you are going to be present for that commitment, the next morning you're going to feel very tired and the next morning your whole routine could be messed up. And in that case, check in on yourself. Are you saying yes to it just because you're worried that it's a social commitment, what people might say, or you're worried that you could lose a friend? There are many reasons that you keep giving yourself, but the reason that you're not able to express what you really feel inside, and instead of acknowledging your real feelings, you are just saying yes to another person and finding it very difficult to say no. It's a good sign that you have people pleasing tendency. I have also noticed a lot of such people are trapped into, those stores where they are selling membership and other deals, and you find it very difficult to say no to people. Sometimes it is polite, but sometimes if it is costing you money and yet you are not able to say no when you clearly know that you can't afford something or you don't have the means or you don't want to buy it, but still you're going ahead and buying something just because you can't say no, it's a very hard-hitting sign that you have people pleasing tendency and you are putting other people's needs ahead of yours. Bringing awareness itself is very instrumental in healing your dysfunctional patterns. So just spend a day and try to record how many times you said yes when you wanted to say no. Number two, constantly apologizing. If you find yourself apologizing a lot throughout the day, very likely that you have people pleasing tendency. For example, if you're running or you're walking in a hallway and you bump into somebody else and it's not even your fault, but you're still apologizing, sorry, it automatically comes out of your mouth. Very likely that you have people pleasing tendency and you probably are not aware of it. And in this case, you can monitor yourself and check and try to make a mental note of how many times you're apologizing. And also, after you have apologized, try to reason with yourself. Was it required? Like your apologizing was required, or can it be replaced by thank you? More often than not, a lot of our things can be replaced by thank yous instead of apologizing, but you find yourself saying sorry. That means you have people pleasing tendency going on with you. Number three is seeking validation. Seeking validation usually happens in our teenage years when we are trying to discover ourselves, and to find out ourselves, we look outside in an environment outside of us and we try to see the pattern and we try to fit ourselves in that environment and see where we stand. And that's how we kind of discover ourselves. us, like who we are. But as we grow up and we become adult, that pattern should have stopped already, and you should have been very secure in who you are and like accepted yourself the way you are. But if you haven't, then very likely that you have people pleasing tendency and you are seeking out validation. This could be in terms of asking people, how do I look? Do I look fat? Do I look thin? So basically, you're not deciding things based on your choices, but you are deciding things based on how other people perceive you and see you. And it can be a very exhausting practice because you're constantly checking on other people's emotions and cues in the society to see what you feel about yourself. So instead of going inside and asking yourself what you truly want, but you're looking outside, what do they want from me? What do they want to see from me? And that is very exhausting. So another example could be you're fishing for compliments from others. You sometimes validation can also seem like difficulty in decision making. So if you find yourself that you have been spending a lot of time thinking this is what I want to do, but you're not sure, you keep asking other people for opinion and re-evaluating, and then in the end you're not able to get to a solution, like you cannot decide. That is also a people pleasing tendency because you are so trapped in that cycle of making the right decision so that you look proper in front of others. Simple practice on a day-to-day basis. Try to see how many times are you asking for other people's opinion regarding your own things, like your appearance, your work, and also when people give you a compliment, notice yourself. How do you react to those compliments? Does it make you very happy because you did not believe that you did it so well, but now you believe because others are telling you that? It's a good sign that you have people pleasing tendency and you are doing things to make others happy instead of making yourself happy. Avoiding conflict. This is a big one because again, it all comes from your childhood. If you have been in an environment where you were not able to express your needs and wants, and or you were snubbed by your parents or your guardians when you were expressing your need, or you were neglected when you had wants and needs, you could not think that there could be a middle way. So you always, or it could be an environment where whenever you express your needs or your true intentions or your true wants, it led to your parents screaming and shouting, and that causes a threat. So a child learns that it's better to keep quiet and not say it. So that is kind of a survival technique. You don't want your guardian to be upset with you. You don't want them to be having a meltdown, or you don't want them to be screaming because it is scary for a child. So, and then that becomes a pattern until your adulthood. And then it's very difficult for people pleasing people to understand that it's not always that you have to either agree to the other person or agree to yourself. And that usually doesn't occur to them, that there could be a third option. Let's say, for an example, your partner made a plan for, let's say, for the weekend without consulting you and without asking you. And you agree to go ahead with that plan, but internally you are feeling a bit annoyed, or there is some kind of resentment thinking that you weren't checked into, or but you simply agree to it just to keep the peace. It's a good sign that you might be having people pleasing tendency. What you can do is you can try to reflect on a day-to-day basis that how many times are you suppressing your needs, your true feelings, just to keep the peace. Another sign is putting others' needs ahead of you. And it's very, very basic, but it took me years to finally learn and be very conscious and aware of this pattern in my own self. So if you have a tendency where you are putting other people's needs ahead of yourself, then you have, it's very like literal, you have people pleasing tendency because you're doing things to make others happy. And it also goes in hand with the inability to say no. Let's say, for an example, your friend needs help to move furniture in your building, and you have taken an off that day because you have been extremely tired and maybe you were on your periods, so you want to rest. Now, because your friend has asked you and you think that is a genuine request because she really needs help, and how would she be able, like you're thinking about her, how would she be able to carry that heavy furniture by herself? It's a sign that you have people pleasing tendency because you're kind of disguising it as kindness and you're thinking that this is something very natural. Your friend needs help and you have to help. But in this whole process, the person you're neglecting is yourself. You had taken an off and you are not well and you want to rest. You are maybe not in a position, or you don't have that strength to move around furnitures that day. And yet you say yes to the person and offer. So you are not being kind to yourself, but you're being kind to others. And this is classic people pleasing tendency. Sometimes it could be because you are unable to say no, and sometimes because your mind is rationalizing the situation for you that the person really needs your help. And you are a kind person, moral person, so you need to help that person. But you fail to understand that there could be another solution. There is another way of helping your friend. Maybe you could ask another friend to help her with, or you could help her to find handyman to call that person to. So there could be another solution, but because you're putting that other person in priority and putting yourself in the lowest priority, it's very clear that you have people pleasing tendency. What's sad is that majorly all the people who are giving back to the society and doing the good work, usually they have difficulty setting good boundaries, and they have people pleasing tendencies, and they find it difficult to say no. So the irony is that they are being kind to the whole of the world, but except for themselves. And this is something that is detrimental for the society as well as your own self. The reason why I say so is because when you keep giving and when you keep doing things for others because you think it's the moral thing or it's the right thing, or because you're a good person and all of that, and you keep doing the things at the cost of your own self, it gradually and slowly and the long term develops into bitterness and resentment. And you feel that I did so much for the world, and in return, the world did nothing for me. So either it causes burnout or it causes bitterness, and you become that kind of a lady who always nags and always thinks that it actually puts you in a victim mentality. So answer is to balance things. If you're giving back to society, which is a must, everybody should do that. You cannot neglect your own needs. You cannot give back to society if you are not putting that much of effort in your own self. If your own cup is empty, you cannot give back to the society. You will drain yourself out. And that is why self-care is so important. I will be making another video on self-care. I have a bundle of developing healthy boundaries which can be downloaded, and the link is there in the description box below. It will help you to develop healthy boundaries step by step and break the cycle of people pleasing. And it's very important for your own mental well-being as well as reaching your highest potential and in productivity. So if you like this video, don't forget to like and share this video with your friends, and subscribe to this channel to look forward for more videos, and click the bell icon so that you are notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in my next video. Until then, bye bye.